What's up, YouTube? It's me, the Artisan MC, and today I'm going to review episode 5 of The Last of Us. Now, this episode came out on Friday instead of Sunday because Sunday is the Super Bowl. So, if you're really into watching the Super Bowl, the viewers for The Last of Us on Sunday will be cracked. So, HBO did the smart thing and tried to throw this out ahead of time before the Super Bowl, so to make sure they got everybody watching it before they got this. And that was a good move for them. In a sense, for me, is it gave me a chance to watch it in the earlier part of the day without having to stream first and then come back and watch it and stream later. It makes it so it's not so late. It's not even 9 o'clock yet. I might actually be able to review this and get it posted, within a day. Imagine that. So anyway, this episode you get the introduction of Henry and Sam. This episode picks up with a little bit of recap what happened in Kansas City before Joel and Ellie showed up. And you get to meet Henry and Sam and see what the situation in Kansas City was. That the resistance, led by Kathleen, took over and overthrew Fedra and had themselves a good, Lord of the Fries kind of pig fry, and killed the Fedra agents and took over the city. And that's how Kansas City became a free city. Now, that was only about 10 to 11 days ago before Joel and Ellie show up. And you see where Henry and Sam were in all of this. After that overthrow, they were trying to escape. They were trying to escape the city and hide out, and they had been hiding in the city for the last 10 days. Now, you also see who helped them hide in the city, which was the doctor who was killed in the last episode, Easling, I think his name was. That he was the one who found that attic hideout and let them stay there because he had heard about it from a Fedra agent. Because during this time, you also find out that the reason why Henry is so hot under Kathleen's collar that she has a hard on for trying to get him is that Henry was an informant for Fedra, meaning that he gave Fedra agents information on the resistance. And the person that he gave information on was Kathleen's brother, who was in fact the leader of the resistance. Now, Easling was also an informant, and he was told by the Fedra agent about this little attic hideout. And this is where he squirrels away Henry and Sam so they can hide out until it dies down a bit and they can sneak out the city. And Henry are in this attic. Easling leaves and he's captured by Kathleen, and you know what happens to him. You know, no good doctor goes untreated. Um, and 10 days later, you why Henry and Sam leave the hideout because they're out of food. They only had canned food enough for 10 days. They're out of food. It's time to get out of here. They got to break camp. Now, in the course of them breaking camp, they find a an incident going down in the streets. And the incident is Joel and Ellie running into the building in the previous episode and killing those other resistance members that tried to. And Henry sees this through a window across the street. Now, because he sees them survive and sees how Joel dispatches the resistance, he tries to follow them. He tries to follow them in a sense to see if he can get them out of the city. Put it that way. Now, here is where I think he was bullshitting. I think he was actually just trying to get away from them, and he just ended up stumbling upon them. Right? I don't think he was. What you find is that what you find is that Henry and Sam sneak up on Joe and Ellie on purpose. Now, Henry and Sam have guns, but the guns are not loaded. They don't have any bullets in them. They're out. Right. So the initial wake up of Joel to a gun in his face is just that. It's a stall tactic for Henry to get to talk to them a bit, get them to calm down and try to broker some kind of peace. And what happens is they are able to negotiate with Joel and Ellie a little bit, so they are not killed. And the negotiation tactic is that Henry knows what Joel did. He knows the people are looking for Joel more than they're looking for him. And Joel will be able to find his way out of the city, but he doesn't know where to go. And Henry does. And Henry bargains that information of how to get out of the city against Joel killing them for pulling guns. Now, they make an agreement and they stay the night. And the next morning, Henry tells them the layout of the city and how Kathleen's forces have them basically boxed in, but there is a way to get out the city. And there is a way for them to get out the city. And the way to get out of the city is to go underground. Now, what Henry also tells Joel and Ellie, because Joel is immediately resistant to going underground, is that in Kansas City, Fedra drove all the infected underground. But what Fedra also did that most people don't know is wiped out all of those infected. That those infected are dead, and that the sewer system underneath the city is clear. So this is Henry's path to escape Kansas City. So the next morning, Henry, Sam, Joel, and Ellie set out to the underground to escape the city. Now, while they're going through the city, you start getting more conversation between all of them, and you come upon what is an underground settlement in Kansas City. A bunch of paintings on the wall of children and drawings and stuff like that, and charcoal and stuff like that. And you find a little underground settlement, and you see that there were children and other things here. Now, they pointed out in the after show stuff that the picture on the wall at this place is an Easter egg from the game. If you played the game, I didn't play the game, so it would have been totally lost on me. Outside of the fact it was just an interesting camera move to focus on him looking at this picture, right? That obviously means it means something, and if in the show, maybe it has something related to the game. But what it says in the episode is nothing. It's just there. Joel looks at the picture. It is what it is. Now, once they're down in this place, they convince Joe to let them stay a little while longer. So when they come out on the other side into this residential district, it's dark, there's shadows, they have some extra cover to get away from the city. So they decide to hang out down there. And Ellie and Sam end up doing what kids do. They start bonding and they find comics and toys and stuff like that to play with. So they just start interacting with each other. And at the same time, Ellie is learning sign language to speak to Sam, and her and Sam are going back and forth and talking, which is really sweet in a sense. It's really sweet that, given the situation, the kids can still be kids and bond really quickly because that's what kids do. Kids never really care about who you are, what you look like necessarily. That's taught into them. Before that, kids just play with kids. You a kid like me? What do you got? You like this? Yeah, what's into this? That's just what they do. In the midst of Sam and Ellie just doing this bonding, Joel and Henry get to have a conversation, and Joel ends up finding out why Kathleen is so hard up after Henry and finding out that, yes, Henry was an informant, but the person he turned in and informed on was Kathleen's brother. And that the reason he informed on Kathleen's brother is because Sam has leukemia. And the medicine that he needed for him, Fedra had. It was pretty rare, and Fedra was the only ones who had it. So to save his brother, he informed. He gave them what they wanted, which was Kathleen's brother, to save his brother. And he understands that what he did in some senses was wrong, but he he thinks, what was he supposed to do? So in a sense, he doesn't fault the people for wanting to come after him, possibly kill him. But at the same time, he ain't just out there giving up his damn life for it. It's like, look, it's his little brother. What is he gonna do about it? Just let him die. So it shows that there is a gray area in this world right now. There are some things that you do just to protect your own, and it's on the person on the outside who wants to sit there and judge. But given the situation, you make the choices you make, and you have to live with them. And what you see in that scene with Joel and Henry sitting down talking is that Henry is owning his decision, and Joel is thinking about the decisions he has made, which we still haven't heard everything about. But from conversation with Ellie and whatnot, you understand that Joel probably did some grimy stuff, probably done some really grimy stuff, um, given the time frame and the 20 years that he spent after his daughter died just out here in the world. He's probably done some grimy stuff. So he's reflecting on that as well. Now, once they leave this little settlement and get out, they do get out the city. They do get into the neighborhoods and they're going free. They're set upon, surprisingly, by a sniper, right? And while they're taking cover and Joel is figuring out where the sniper is and how to work himself around to get to him, he gets into the house and it's an old man with a rifle, but he's sitting there shooting like scattershot. He's not really aiming. It doesn't make any sense until Joel gets into the room and sees the man, and the man doesn't want to put down the gun. He still tries to turn and fire on Joel, and Joel ends up having to kill the old man. Now they don't show it on camera, but you hear the shot. You knew what happened. Like if that motherfucker turned one more inch with that rifle, he was getting the fofo. Okay. Apparently he turned. It's just what it is, right? What you find out is it wasn't so much that the old man had terrible aim. He was not trying to hit them. He was just trying to hold them there because on his walkie that's there, you hear Kathleen's voice saying that they're almost there. Just hold them there. They're almost there. And Kathleen and her contingent are coming to get him. You know, Karen and crew are coming. Now, at this point, there's no time for Joel and Ellie and Sam and Henry to run because Sam and Henry and Ellie are down on the ground and Joel is up inside of the house with the old man and the rifle. And he sees these cars coming down the street. Now, they are hot and heavy coming because they believe Henry's there. And Joel does what he can to take out the lead vehicle and let it crash into a building. But Kathleen and the cohort show up and everybody is, pinned down. Now, this scene is a bit interesting because while Joel is in the house, they, Perry and the rest of the little armed contingent with Kathleen knows where he is. They've already seen Sam and Ellie and Henry running, and Kathleen steps out and she just wants to yell for him and try to get him to come out. And while Henry responds to her questions, like he'll come out and just will you let the kids go? And she tells him flat out, no. Now, what you got earlier in the episode was kind of a flashbacks with Kathleen. That Kathleen is a murderer. Outside of the last episode where she just shot the doctor, she is a murderer. She will kill people. And it's an interesting scene earlier before they actually get a tip off to where Henry is, where Kathleen and Perry are talking, and it's in the room that Kathleen and her brother grew up in. And Perry answers a question for me that I had the whole time about why these people were following this fucking chick that's obviously deranged, right? And what it turns out is that she was not the one, actually. Her brother was the one everybody was following at first until he got turned in and killed. But Perry tells her brother didn't change anything. She did. So because of that, that is why they throw in their lot with her, that they stand behind her. Because she's willing to get ruthless and do some ruthless shit, apparently. Now, I don't know if I buy that completely from somebody who's supposed to be a soldier. I think the person standing next to the person, just because they, killed one other person, is like, yeah, okay, so but look, man, in a time like this, if that was the retribution that you got for your brother being killed, that you end up freeing all these people, okay, I'll give you a little bit that they would actually give you some kind of allegiance and follow your lead. Maybe. Okay, maybe. Let's just move it on. Okay. So you find out that when you get back to the scene with Ellie, Sam, and Henry's trying to bargain with Kathleen to let the children go, and she tells him, "No, that did you ever think that he was supposed to die? The kids die all the time." She is really unremorseful about this shit. She really just wants to kill Henry for her brother, like blood for blood. And she is not having any qualms about the little black boy dying at all. No, she's gonna kill him. So it paints her in a sense as deranged. And as a black person, just like, yeah, well, what did you think, dude? She came with the lynch mob. Okay, she showed up with the lynch mob. Yeah, both of y'all gonna get got. Now, while Henry does come out from cover and is standing there, and Kathleen has a gun on him, the whole situation is broken up by the large truck that crashed into the house that Joe hit the driver. It sinks into a hole, pitches up in the back and sinks into a hole. And out of that hole streams infected. Now, this made me kind of back a minute from the screen, from a laptop, because, yeah, that's not a fun spot to be in. I mean, I play video games, right? I'm a gamer, right? In a situation like that, where there's just a bunch of swarming infected coming out of one spot, yes, all you can do is backpedal and start shooting, start trying to take down as many as you can, because chances are you're about to get overrun. And that's what I looked at, an infected overrun. Now, I like the way the scene was shot because the way the scene was shot reminded me of StarCraft, like it was a Zerg rush. And everybody is trying to lay down as much fire as they can, but these things are just coming. And out of the hole, behind all these infected, these clickers that are running out of there, is a humongous, big elephant roaring clicker. Apparently, it's called a bloater. I didn't play the game, so I don't know what these fucking things are. Right now, that was a bit scary because for me, I'm thinking this is the time to fucking run, and it's a well acted scene. It's a well acted scene by the guy who's playing Perry because you can see it on his face. He's like, "Oh hell no!" You dump a clip, nothing happens. You slap in another one, dump that one, and he's telling Kathleen, "You need to get the hell out of here. You need to run." And yes, it's going the way you think it's going to go. That thing came out of that hole and started pounding people into the ground like a sledgehammer. That was just what it was. And sorry, not sorry, but Perry meets his end in the most Mortal Kombat fashion ever. Like, even I was squelching, like, ooh, damn. I knew it was going to happen, but it was still like, ugh. Okay, I didn't think we were going to get it that close to the camera. But it was interesting. It made me laugh a little bit. Like, yeah, okay, now finally I'm getting some action in this show. Right? Now, right before everybody is out of there is one last scene with Kathleen getting able to get the drop on Sam, Henry, Ellie, and Joel trying to leave there and pulls the gun out and is aiming it at Henry. Now, this is her chance to take her shot at Henry. But what happens is something really poignant in a way, is that um, behind her, there is a clicker climbing up over like a stump or something. It's a little girl. And it's the same little clicker that just chased Ellie out of a car she was hiding in. This little ambidextrous Cirque du Soleil fucking clicker slid in through the window and back flipping over the seats. Like, run, get away from them, right? This one shows up, and Kathleen turns around, doesn't even get a shot off. That little thing jumps on her and starts going, hand bone over elbows into her face and bites her neck, and that's the end of Kathleen. So Kathleen is dead, Perry is dead, and in the background, the rest of the people that was out there that ain't dead, the clickers are coming for them. They run off chasing the rest of them that ran away. Um, Joel, Sam, Henry, Ellie, they run the opposite direction. They go. And we get to the what I would call kind of the almost the pre-epilogue of this episode, whereas you get and Ellie sitting, Sam and Ellie and Henry and Joel in a hotel, and Sam and Ellie are in the other room, and they're reading comics, reading a comic, and talking while Joel and or excuse me, Joel and Henry are in the other room discussing that Joel is willing to let Henry come along with him and Ellie to Wyoming. And Henry agrees to come along with them, that he'll tell Sam in the morning. Now, that could be specious. I would have told him right away. But in the room with Ellie and Sam, you get a really good scene with the two of them interacting and sharing like secrets to the show. And what you find out from this is that Sam has been bit on his leg during the little scuffle with the clickers and stuff. He was trapped under a car with his brother, kicking at these clickers to keep them from grabbing him and pulling him from under the car. And apparently, he got bit. And he reveals this to Ellie on his little magic notepad that he has a monster inside of him. Now, this troubles Ellie a lot. But what she decides to do is show him her scar and tell him that her blood is magic. Her blood is medicine, not magic. Blood is medicine. And she cuts herself and rubs her blood over his wound in the hope that it will cure him. Right? But Sam doesn't want to go to sleep, so he asks her to stay awake with him all night. She agrees. Now, in the same fashion as the last episode, nobody stays awake. Right? You wake up, you open on the next morning, and Ellie is waking up, and Sam is sitting there on the edge of the bed, and she's apologizing to him for falling asleep or whatever. When she goes over and grabs him, Sam turns around and he is infected out. He is razor teeth, bloody mouth, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And he attacks Ellie. He has turned. Her blood did not save him. He has turned. And now her newfound friend is going for her jugular. Now they break out into the next room, and in the next room, you see Sam and Joel startled and they see what's going on. And Henry grabs Joel's gun and actually shoots to keep Joel from attacking Sam, who is attacking Ellie. Now, while Ellie is screaming for Joel to help her, Joel can't get close because Henry won't let him because Henry is holding Joel's gun. And what Henry does is he turns and he shoots Sam in the head. He shoots his younger brother in the head. Now, that is traumatic because it plays up the tension in the scene that there is not a lot of time to think about this. But in that time that he has, that 30 seconds or so, 15 seconds maybe, that he has to try to hold Joel off from killing him, he takes it into his own hands and he kills his brother, realizing that his brother is now the infected. But after that, it starts setting in what he has done. He's watching his brother's blood leak onto that floor and realizing he killed him, his younger brother. And he cracks. That's the easiest way I can say it. He cracks, which in some ways I think it was kind of weak that he did that, but he did crack. And while Joel was trying to calm him and get close enough to him to get the gun from him, Henry turns the gun on himself and blows his own brains out as well, right in front of Joel, right in front of Ellie. And herein ends the episode of these brothers showing up. Now, the actual epilogue of this episode, you see that Joel has dug graves for Henry and Sam, and he has buried them. And it's a bit of a respect that he is paid to people that you don't see people doing at this point in time. It's not there. And while he's doing that, Ellie comes up to him and drops his bag and his coat and stuff like that. And she steps forward with Sam's magic notepad, writes a message on the notepad, and leaves it on the mound of earth and walks off. She asks Joel which way is west. He tells her. She starts walking in that direction. And Joel just watches her. He's watching her leave, and then he looks down at the notepad to see what she wrote on the notepad. And on the notepad, it's "I'm sorry." She wrote "I'm sorry." Now Joel doesn't know what happened in that room with her and Sam. That she tried to help him, tried to heal him. He doesn't know that. But I think he's smart enough to try to put it together why she was sorry. But what you see is that Ellie is becoming hardened. She's becoming a bit hardened. That she is just taking it all in stride. It's like, okay, this is what happened. Let's go. And she does call out to Joel, it's like, let's go. And Joel, you know, takes it on, drops the shovel, picks up his pack and his coat and the rifle, and he's off on the road with Ellie. Now, while this was a good episode for development, the story moved. I do think another flaw was in this episode, and it was more so in the fact that Kathleen's forces drove up in about 5 or 6 cars with lights, with gasoline. While Joel and company saw that these clickers were all over the place killing these folks, the next morning they did not go back to see if those clickers were around and take one of those vehicles. They just start walking. Now, to me, I'm thinking there's like 6 or 7 cars here. There's 6 or 7 vehicles here. Let's go back, see if them clickers are hiding away out of the sun and stuff like that. What the hell they doing? And let's take one of these vehicles and get on the road. They don't do that. Now, to me, I'm thinking that's bad writing, but maybe in a sense you get away from a place and you just keep going. I don't know. I'm thinking there's guns, ammo, and vehicles with gasoline there. We need that shit because we got a long way to go. So it's not like we're on a clock. We would lose no time backtracking a little bit that next morning since nobody was following us to see what was the lay of the land and what it looked like. Was there anything we could actually scavenge and use? I would have went back for a vehicle at the very least. But that's not what happened. They just start foot to Wyoming. All right, we'll find fine. Other than that, I didn't have a problem with this episode. I didn't. I actually liked this episode. I actually got more involved character studies, more history on what was going on with these characters, bonding between these characters, and then actually some action with infected and an actual fight for your life to understand what you're dealing with. That these infected that come out of here, these are not your, old school, slow moving, thriller night zombies. No, these fucking things move. They move fast, and it's traumatic when they all start running at you. It's kill or be killed at that point, and I don't have a problem with that necessarily. It is what the world is at that point. So I enjoyed this episode. This was what I was looking for in a show like this. This is what I was expecting, and I wasn't disappointed in it at all. I did not think the brothers were going to be in it that long. I didn't. But if this is the format that they're going with, that characters from the video game, as I understand these two brothers were important in the game, that video game characters come in to the show for an episode and leave in that same episode for the show, that's an interesting format. I like the fact that they're playing with that format a little, that the characters aren't just hanging around. Because up until Sam, turned feral, I was kind of thinking, okay, they're just going to travel with each other. I guess we'll just be seeing them next episode. And oh no, but wait, it gets worse. No, the episode was not over. Something else happened, and those two characters are gone. You're not going to see them in the next episode unless you see them in Ghost. So I thought that was pretty interesting way to go. It did leave me in a little bit of suspense and did pique my interest for the next episode in the sense that these characters are going to have a lot to process next time they sit down and talk. They're going to have to talk about some stuff. There will be some conversations had. So that's it. That is my review of Last of Us episode 5. Thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe, support the stream if you feel so inclined. artisanmc at Cash App or PayPal. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.